Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the heart of Central Asia. We're looking at two neighbors, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, who are making two totally different bets on how to secure their future. It's really a story of internal reform versus external maneuvering, and the outcome could change the whole region.
So let's jump right in. You have Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. They share a border, they share a Soviet past, but man, their paths today couldn't be more different. One is throwing its doors wide open, completely rebuilding from the inside out. The other is playing this incredibly high-stakes game of energy chess on the world stage. The big question is, which strategy is going to pay off?
All right, let's start with Uzbekistan. Since 2016, under President Shavkat Mirziyoyev, the country has been on an absolute reform blitz. This is a top-down transformation that's shaking up just about every aspect of the country.
And the speed of the changes is what's really wild. The government just unleashed this wave of economic reforms. They finally liberalized the currency, which was a huge deal. They rolled out a simple, flat 12% income tax to get businesses excited. They even started building their first ever nuclear power plant. That's a serious statement about their long-term ambitions.
And this massive internal shift was matched by a huge change in foreign policy. After decades of being pretty isolated, Uzbekistan suddenly started mending fences with its neighbors, creating a whole new vibe in the region. They even started looking at Afghanistan not just as a problem to be managed, but as a strategic opportunity.
And to prove they were serious about opening up, the government made a really bold move. They massively expanded visa-free travel. Suddenly, citizens from 65 countries could just come on in. It was about the clearest signal you could send to the world. Uzbekistan is open for business.
Back at home, the whole point of these reforms was to reconnect the government with its own people. They set up something called a virtual presidency, so citizens could appeal directly to the top. They poured money into rural development, and, in a really historic move, they granted citizenship to thousands of people who'd been stateless for years.
This whole new way of thinking was captured by this one phrase: the state truly buckled down to serve the people. That was the idea behind those virtual reception offices, which, get this, handled over 3 million citizen appeals. It was a complete reversal of how things used to be.
Okay, so that's Uzbekistan's story, a country looking inward to completely remake itself. Now let's shift gears and look next door to Turkmenistan, because it's a totally different picture. They were focusing all their energy outward, driven by one single incredibly powerful resource.
And that resource is, of course, natural gas. You can't talk about Turkmenistan without talking about gas. They have the fourth largest reserves on the planet. But here's the catch. Having it is one thing. Getting it to market is a whole other geopolitical nightmare.
Just look at this chart. The entire economy is built on hydrocarbons. Over 91% of all their export money comes from oil and gas. That makes your economic security totally dependent on who's buying your gas and for how much.
And this is the critical part. As you can see here, a massive chunk, we're talking 80 to 90% of all that gas goes to one customer, just one, China. And that creates a huge, huge vulnerability for the entire country.
This is a classic Economics 101 problem. It's called a monopsony. You know how a monopoly is when there's only one seller? Well, a monopoly is the opposite. There's only one buyer. And when you only have one buyer, they have all the power to set the price.
There's a quote from Dr. Robert M. Cutler that just nails this situation perfectly. He said, Turkmenistan possesses more gas than infrastructural escape routes. That's it in a nutshell. They have all this incredible wealth trapped under the ground simply because they can't get it to enough places.
So how do you solve a puzzle like that? How do you break free from being dependent on just one customer? Well, for Turkmenistan, it means playing this very complicated, very high-stakes game of pipelines and diplomacy.
For decades, the big dream, the great hope, has been something called the Tapi pipeline. This thing is a massive project. The idea is to build a pipeline from Turkmenistan's giant gas fields, run it through Afghanistan and Pakistan, and connect it to the massive, energy-hungry markets in India.
But, and it's a big but, look at this timeline. Progress has been painfully slow. This thing was first talked about back in the 90s. And while they've started building it, it keeps getting bogged down by security issues in Afghanistan and problems with financing.
So, since that big pipeline is taking forever, Turkmenistan has gotten creative. They've started using this nimble strategy called swap diplomacy. It's a really clever workaround. Instead of building a whole new pipeline, they deliver their gas to a neighbor, like Iran, and then Iran delivers the same amount of its gas to Turkmenistan's customer, say Turkey.
And what this does is it completely redefines what neutrality even means for Turkmenistan. As Dr. Cutler points out, being neutral isn't just about not picking sides anymore. It's become a tool they use to create new, flexible energy deals and constantly shuffle their options on the world stage.
Okay, so let's pull back. What we have here are two completely different national strategies playing out, side by side, right in the heart of Central Asia. Let's put them head to head.
So on one side, you have Uzbekistan, which is all about massive internal reform. Their goal is to diversify their entire economy. And on the other side, you have Turkmenistan, which is laser-focused on the external game. Their goal isn't to diversify their economy, but to diversify the routes for their one major export. It's state-building versus geoeconomic survival.
So what's the big takeaway here? These two paths aren't just going to decide the fate of these two countries. They represent two competing visions for the future. And which one of these strategies proves to be more successful, more resilient? That could redefine Central Asia's role in the world for a long, long time to come.